Hi, my name is Leah Day with the Free Motion Quilting Project, and welcome to Quilt Along number 30. This week we are going to start learning an entirely new family of designs called pivoting designs. And we're going to focus on this design family for 1 month and stitch out 4 awesome designs that are going to be lots of fun to stitch on your quilts. And in celebration of the new other quilt along that we've started, the UFO Sundays, I am tackling my UFOs now. So hopefully you will be able to see lots of these designs stitched in real quilts. And the first quilt I'm going to be tackling is this one. This is Batik Beauty. It's a quilt I've had in progress for many years. And fortunately, the sashings of this quilt are nice and dark, so you can see how to stitch these pivoting designs on a real quilt. And the really cool thing is, if you would like to make one of these, if you don't have a UFO at home to stitch these designs on, you can make the Batik Beauty quilt as well by signing up on the Day Style Designs weekly newsletter. And you can find links to that at the Free Motion Quilting Project. It's up in the upper right hand corner. You can sign up and get weekly links to all of our different videos, all of the articles posted to the project, plus you can get a copy of the free Batik Beauty pattern. So definitely get on there and let's see how Paisley works. The very first pivoting design we're going to learn, let's see how Paisley works on the Batik Beauty quilt. Alright, so we're going to get started quilting Paisley, and the first thing I'm going to do is just take out a couple of pins so that way they're out of my way. I'm working on a real quilt now, so pretty much I just kind of have to keep in mind the scale that I'm stitching on so everything stays nice and soft, and just watch out for these pins as I'm quilting into the area. So now let's learn how to stitch Paisley. I'm going to drop my needle down into the machine, pull it up, and give that top thread a little tug to bring up the bobbin thread. Do that every time I start stitching, so that way I don't make a mess on the back of the quilt. Okay. Now Paisley works very simply. We're going to start with a teardrop shape. Sometimes you can get a little tricky with those teardrops, but it's no big deal. It'll still look pretty good once I echo it. So now I'm going to pivot. This is a pivoting design, so I'm pivoting off the starting point. I'm going to swing around to do echoes. Pivot and echo. Really, it's entirely up to you how far you want to echo those. Personally, I aim for about 1/2 of an inch if it's going to be a bed quilt. The angle that I'm stitching in is kind of hard to see, for me at least, because the machine itself is getting bulky, so I'm going to lower my chair down just a little bit. I'll probably be able to see a little bit better. It really does help to have an adjustable height chair so that way you can really get at the right height to see what you're doing. Already my stitches are looking better. All I'm doing is branching out with a new teardrop shape in another direction, pivoting and swirling around with some more echoes. And then you see how there's that little bit of space between these two. I'm just going to travel stitch right along the side of this one to come up for one more echo. And that is just fine. Pivoting designs have a lot more travel stitching involved with them. Makes them kind of special, makes them a very different texture than the designs we've been working on for all of 2012. So, okay, now I've got these two stitched. I'm going to do a little, maybe cut it in half. I've got to cut the shape in half to fill in this space. So I'm just going to come up and over and travel stitch along that block. That area was stitched in the ditch, so I can travel stitch along it. I can use that area just to kind of base off of to form the design. So I'm going to pretend that that's a full Paisley. It's just been chopped in half by that block. Okay. Form a couple more rings. And see how much I'm moving the quilt? Every time that I form a Paisley pretty much and get the echoes in, I reposition the quilt just simply so I have a little bit better control over it, so I can see where I'm going or what I'm doing. You know, when you first get started quilting for the day, you might have to make some adjustments to your chair, to your sewing machine, in order to make sure that it's stitching properly. Okay, let's fill up one more echo, so that we fill up the space completely. And again, I'm going to travel stitch along this block, right in that ditch. And I'm just travel stitching right on top of stitching that's already happened. And it's okay if you hop out of that ditch a little bit. I'm not going to go in there and rip it out just because it's not absolutely perfect. You know, it's a bed quilt. It's meant to be used and enjoyed. It's meant to be finished quickly. The last thing I want to do is go grab a seam ripper for every little tiny mistake, because if I do that, I will never get done. And again, I'm going to have to do a little travel stitching on this one. Because the design is so big, that's why the travel stitching is necessary. You know, we make our quilts and we don't necessarily make them for the fillers that are going to cover them. We make them for the piecing or applique designs, and the fillers are the ones that have to really bend and twist and shift around those designs in order to work. I'm going to do a little bit more travel stitching. And you know, you don't have to expand your Paisley shapes this much. I'm going to stitch a relatively small one right here. It's really just whatever your space needs, whatever is going to fit properly into it. And you can hear my machine how I'm speeding up and slowing down. Anytime I'm travel stitching, I am going a little slower, but whenever I'm expanding a line or design, I'm usually speeding up to do that swing out and get my nice stitch length. Alright, so I've traveled back all the way over here, and there's a reason for that. I want to get over into this area and fill this area in because I left it empty. So I'm just going to come down. Just a little bit more travel stitching. You know, if you want to, you could kind of add another line right there. That's no big deal. I have this area where I hopped out, so I'm just going to travel stitch over the hop. That's just fine. Okay, if you feel the quilt resisting you, of course, push it around so it stops. And swirl into the area with a teardrop. And echoes. And of course, if you have to travel against a Paisley shape, that's fine too. That's going to happen sometimes. And up and around. Alright, and I'm just going to come out one more time so that way we can see it just a bit better. There we go. So, that is Paisley, a beautiful pivoting design stitched on the Bed Quilt Batik Beauty. And I hope you give this design a try this week. So that's it for this week. I really hope that you'll get on a UFO or another quilt you've got in progress and give Paisley a try. This design is not very hard in the sense that it's just a simple shape, a teardrop shape, that you're repeating and building up and expanding with echoes. The trickiest part will be hitting your starting point and hitting those pivot points so that way you don't have a big mess in those areas. So just take your time and slow down in those areas as you quilt into them. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. If you're looking for more videos, definitely check out the Free Motion Quilting Project. That is at freemotionproject.com, and you will find hundreds of videos on free motion quilting, all provided for free for you to enjoy at any time. Also, make sure to check out the article that corresponds with this post so you can learn more about Paisley and pivoting designs, plus link up your own blog post, Flickr account, Facebook page with anything that you decide to stitch out this week and try out on your own at home. Of course, if you have any questions, make sure to post them to your blog or the comments of the Free Motion Quilting Project. Until next time, let's go quilt.